Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with Married at First Sight. Let's watch this TV show and see if anything of interest comes out of my face. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. I've been both those things for 23-ish years, and I'm also a podcaster, if you're interested, and a YouTuber, which of course you know. Let's watch the show.
Yeah. Communication is great with us. I happen to be the idiot because I tend to shut down. When I hit a certain point, I shut down, and I just don't want to be around anybody. And she was very supportive. She gave me my...
So that's great. Brandon, you're aware of that. There's nothing wrong with that tendency. It's a matter of being aware of it and managing it and telling other people, I'm sorry that I have this tendency. So that bodes well for Brandon and Taylor.
And then when I was ready to talk, we were able to have a real conversation, and I told her where I was coming from. So that's huge.
That's good understanding to have.
Yeah, you need that.
So early on, man.
Yeah, so early on. Getting married at first sight is challenging. I'm not used to having cameras in my face. I'm a private person, and this is a new level of vulnerability for me, and it's been tough to adjust.
So you might ask, why would you go on a reality TV show if you don't like cameras in your face? So I think that's a legitimate question. I'm beginning to wonder if he has some kind of traumas early in life regarding vulnerability. And so we know that from previous episodes where Taylor woke him up in the morning she was taking a selfie video, and he's sleeping, and then he wakes up and he sees that he's being filmed, and he probably also sensed that there's other cameras around, and he said he had a panic attack. So that's a visceral bodily reaction that isn't voluntary. It's not just like you're deciding to freak out. It's trauma. You're actually, oh my God, and your body goes into fight or flight in a very severe... He said he was trembling and shaking for a long time after that. For those of you who have had moments like that, you know how that feels. And that has to do with past traumas. So I'd wonder what traumas he has not recovered from yet that have to do with that. Whether it's actual cameras, maybe someone humiliated him when he was young repeatedly by filming him while he was sleeping, or I don't know, that seems unlikely, but you never know. Or in the middle of the night when he was sleeping, maybe there was conflict, domestic violence, bullying of other kids or siblings, or something along the lines of waking up and suddenly being in danger when people are conspiring against you. And taking a selfie video isn't a terrible conspiracy, but it is a bit of a conspiracy out of someone else's awareness, if you know what I'm saying. Anyway, or just vulnerability in general, or exposure. If people have traumas around being exposed, being seen and humiliated, and I hope that he takes care of himself with this, because with all the cameras that are on him all the time, I wonder how much of his distress level is in a constant state of a moderate state all the time. People can walk around. Brandon seems like a very cool cucumber. He seems like a very, chill guy. But I've worked with people like him before. They're very good at masking the fact that they're in a constant state of anxiety. And because part of the reason why people do that is because they don't think like anyone cares about their anxiety. And particularly for men, it's interpreted as being weak. And often we just think, well, why express my anxiety? Because no one cares. And I don't want to be aware of my own anxiety because it kind of freaks me out that I'm so distressed. So people can get into those syndromes. I don't know if that's what's happening for him, but I wouldn't be surprised given his frequent talk about not liking cameras in his face.
But I want to be in this marriage. I want it to work. And I'm happy that Taylor's supportive and understanding.
I call him my little princess, my little diva. Like, he gets like
moody.
Yeah, moody. Yeah. And I just I don't.
So Taylor seems like a really fantastic person, a really nice person, but some of the things that she's saying, he disclosed that he has a hard time opening up, and he disclosed that he had a panic attack. No one has control over their anxiety or their panic attacks. Now, he gave her the silent treatment all day and was a complete jerk to her, which is totally not okay, but they're getting to know each other. He's in a weird situation. It doesn't justify it, but she's calling him a princess and a diva. I would much rather have her say something like, he has sensitivities. And although those get in the way sometimes and it concerns me, I'm trying to figure out his sensitivities so that I can take care of him and so he can take care of me. Those are more helpful, compassionate viewpoints, in my opinion.
And I spent a long time with my last boyfriend, and it was all really a waste. A guy that was really horrible. And it just is really nice that I've only known you for a few days and you're already like exceeding expectations.
Okay, so I take back what I said earlier. She might have slightly mean perspectives about him, but sounds like she's a very sweet person, very nice person. I'm really pulling for this couple. They seem like a really sweet couple. So it's nice to see. By the way, everything that I say is based on very little information that the show is giving me, and so take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm a professional when I assess people in my office. It's a very serious affair. It's not something that I just spout after viewing reality TV shows. I just hope you all know that. Also know that if you need therapy, you should find a therapist. You shouldn't use these YouTube videos as a excuse or as a replacement for therapy. Also, subscribe, hit the bell below, comment below, like below, and become a patron on Patreon, and subscribe to our podcast on your podcatcher on your phone. Let's get back to the show.
I tend to stay away from females who have huge followings, because in the past they're not real. You know, they're living for likes, and they're not real people, and that's not something that I look for. You know, I want a human being that's down to earth, someone who I know I can go on adventures with, and not.
So there's nothing wrong with Brandon saying, I am a private person. I don't want my life posted all over the internet. There is nothing wrong with that. I feel like those kinds of people are a dying breed. I'm certainly not like that. I share my life on the internet, but I totally respect and understand why some people would be that way. So it sounds like Brandon might have to negotiate that with Taylor a little bit. But to say that people that have a lot of followers on Instagram aren't real people is quite a statement. So I think that that's a prejudice that a lot of people have. You can certainly be super into Instagram and really enjoy getting likes and really enjoy getting those. I mean, I literally just asked you to like this video. I'd like to consider myself to be a real person. Now, can it get out of control? Can it be detrimental to you? Can it be detrimental to your relationships? 100%, but it usually isn't. It's usually just like a hobby. Think of it like a hobby that some people have. And it sounds like Brandon and Taylor are going to have a lot of conversations about that. And I believe in them that they can.
I do things for Brandon Reeves. I've created this bubble.
Yeah.
And I only care about what happens inside my bubble. So for people that I don't know, I just don't care about them. And I think I'm pretty sure I can overcome this. It's just going to be a bit of an adjustment.
Great statement, Brandon. I'm pretty sure I can overcome this, but it's going to be an adjustment. Wonderful statement.
Let's just say we're getting food, Brandon.
It's on the way.
It's on the way. Food's on the way? Mm-hmm. What are we going to do until the food comes?
You guys are talking to each other.
We're talking to each other?
Yeah. What's wrong?
Trying to play me.
I'm not trying to play you.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not trying to play you. I'm just trying to follow your story. Period.
Brandon is still struggling with the pressures of documentation, but the cameras are not a surprise.
So I'm a little confused as what's happening, but it looks like Brandon is trying to get away from the cameras, and he is being conflictual with the producers and the camera people. And then the Reverend is saying, Brandon is having trouble with the cameras, but it should not be a surprise. Couldn't agree with you more, Reverend. It should not have been a surprise. Now, I could see some people saying like, well, you know, I'll get used to the cameras. I'm guessing the cameras are only around some of the time. Maybe Brandon hasn't watched a lot of reality TV and maybe he didn't know what he was getting into. So personally, I think that the individuals have a right to their privacy. There's no contract that should allow people to just have their privacy completely invaded. I don't know contract law. I don't know how these contracts work, but I would like to think that there should be some clause in the contract where people like Brandon can be like, count me out. I'm out. I didn't know what I was signing up for. Count me out. You can't control my life. I'm a free person from a free country. You know, I'm out. Or at least draw some limits on something. Who knows? Maybe they have no rights. Maybe the law is such that there are no rights. I don't know. So I get that. But at the same time, Brandon, you know, you signed up for a reality TV show, buddy. Like, I think most people understand that there's going to be a lot of cameras around. So I feel for him, honestly. I feel for him.
This is a highly accelerated process. And so the documentation process is sort of like a testing ground. And if you cannot handle this, how are you going to handle the real rigors?
Now that I disagree with. I mean, come on. The idea that if a couple is stressed by cameras, then that's an indication of the fact that they're not going to be good as a couple moving forward. That's silly. I mean, so many people do not like being filmed all the time. So many people like their privacy. So many people are insecure and scared of making fools of themselves. So many people want to fart, for example, without cameras up their butt. And so I could see why the Reverend would say that, because he's trying to defend a show that he's on, but I don't agree with that at all.
Of marriage.
All right, we're waiting for food. Let me know when it gets here.
Now, of course, for Taylor, I'm guessing, because she's an IG person, she's totally used to this and she's comfortable in that space, and Brandon is not. So maybe when they go back to their hometowns, I think they're all from DC, then he'll get a little bit more space and he'll be able to relax a little bit.
We do go through a lot of filming, and I see that that's something that he struggles with, and I adjust to it better than him. But, you know, there's some things that he says to production that I don't agree with, that I don't like. And he's kind of abrasive and very rude.
Come on, bro.
Don't do that,
Don't
right?
do that to me, bro.
Now they're the paparazzi. They know he doesn't want to be, he's just going to the bathroom, or like, why does this need to be filmed? And the producer keeps saying, I'm just following your story. And it's like they're trying to provoke him or something. That is uncool.
What you gonna
Take your hand
do?
off my camera.
No,
Back up.
Bro,
Back up.
I'm here to work. I'm doing a job.
We're all
I'm
doing the
doing
same.
my job, bro.
Back up.
Come on.
Common courtesy. You're going to get your story. You've gotten a lot of story already. Why are you doing this? This seems personal to me.
Man,
Back
just
up.
take your hand off the camera.
Back up.
I'm just trying to do my job, bro.
Back up.
Brandon.
I asked for 10 minutes.
And I ask you why.
10 minutes. You give me 10 minutes.
That's all he asked for was 10 minutes, and you can't let him off the hook for 10 minutes, and you're going to purposely antagonize him just because he wants 10 minutes of his own time. Maybe he has to fart.
You've had all morning.
Brandon,
Like, and
can
you
say
knew
it.
that we were coming here to film you guys.
we can sit here. You give me the 10 minutes, all right, this can be the longest.
What do you
thing.
need 10 minutes for?
Can you just like go get a drink and come back up? Like go water or something and come back?
We are documenting you. So if you go to get water, we're going to get water. If you go to the bar, if you need to go to the bar and get a drink, we're going to the bar and get a drink.
We're gonna sit right here in this elevator then. Okay.
Again, I have no idea what the contract is, but it doesn't seem productive to not allow the people to take 10 minutes to get away from the cameras alone. He's not, what is he going to do on this trip by himself? There's not going to be any part of his story that is going to be missed. It's not the two of them together. So this seems very unfortunate.
So I tell the producers, let me talk to Brandon, and I tell Brandon that the difficult person that you're being on camera is not somebody I really want to be married to. I like to be married to the sweet, kind Brandon. And, all of it goes in his ear and most of it comes out except for I don't want to be married to the difficult Brandon. So he takes that and runs with it. He responds like,
So I want to highlight people and Taylor. He has said that when he was being filmed by you, when he woke up, he had a panic attack. He was literally shaking for several minutes from a visceral traumatic reaction. I don't put it past people to not really understand what that means if you haven't been through that sort of thing. I've been through that sort of thing, so I totally know what he's talking about. A lot of you know what he's talking about. So he's talked about how I get sweaty just thinking about the traumatic reaction that he had in that moment. He's talked about how he's a private person. Now he's on a reality TV show, I get it. And he's just wanting 10 minutes. And yeah, he's being a bit of a jerk, but what is he supposed to do? You know, maybe he's been through many moments like this where he's given in and he's just like, no, today, this morning, I need 10 minutes. And if they're going to keep pushing at me like they do all the time, I'm just going to draw a line in the sand. And yeah, it's going to come across like I'm a jerk, but I need 10 minutes. I need to establish a boundary with these people. Now, she's coming in, Taylor is coming in now, it sounds like, from an angle of agreeing with the producers instead of sticking up for him and understanding him and having empathy for what he's going through. He could in this moment, and I'm guessing he is, because people mask their anxiety, they mask their distress, that he could be having a mini panic attack right now. He could be having at least some distress around invasion of privacy. And people who are traumatized sexually, and a lot of men have been sexually abused, I'm here to tell you. I'm not saying he was sexually abused, but certainly there's a lot of invasion and abuse and invasion of your boundaries that can make you feel really protective and scared when that happens. I don't know what his trauma history is. I'm guessing it has something to do with invasion of his own integrity, of his own physical integrity. And so these cameras in his face, I think, trigger that for him, and he gets upset. He has been explicit in at least the part of him saying that he has panic attacks when he has panic attacks when cameras are shoved in his face. And Taylor, I would hope that she would have some sympathy, and I'd hope that the producers would have some sympathy for this. This all rings of the producers woke up this morning and said, let's provoke him with the cameras because we know he freaks out with cameras, and then we'll get some material for this TV show. I can't obviously know that, but it just has that flavor to it. If the show is really interested, as they claim, to bring people together because they want them to be married forever and have babies, why would you do this? What would be the purpose of doing this?
So I tell the producers, let me talk to Brandon, and I tell Brandon that the difficult person that you're being on camera is not somebody I really want to be married to. I like to be married to the sweet, kind Brandon. And, you know, all of it goes in his ear and most of it comes out except for I don't want to be married to the difficult Brandon. So he takes that and runs with it. He responds like, oh, you don't want to be married to me. He takes off his ring, he throws it and says, we don't have to be in this marriage.
She came in and we don't have the benefit of seeing that scene even though the cameras were there. Why didn't they show us what she just said? So we have no idea what she said. And then, but from the sound of it, she was taking kind of the producer's side. And then he got upset. My cat wants to chime in. And he got upset. He threw the ring down. That's unfortunate. We would wish that he would take a beat and calm down and think about it for a second. But he could have been in a highly traumatized reaction space. Who knows? That's just my guess.
And he leaves.
So I packed for both of us, and he had the nerve to leave his ring, his passport. So I gathered all this stuff and I brought it down to the bus where Brandon was having a full-blown meltdown.
That's pretty hurtful, pretty extreme behavior, and that is uncool things to do. Take a ring off, throw it on the ground, instead of taking a beat, talking about it. So I'm not going to excuse that behavior, but I see Brandon as a very vulnerable, very scared person. I wish that someone would try to hear him and understand him about that. Usually when people feel heard and understood, it calms them down. And when they feel pushed and ignored and pressured, then they react in unfortunate ways often, and they might have quote-unquote meltdowns because they're completely unregulated, their traumas are being triggered. I don't know that about him, but it just seems possible. Like I always say, everything I'm saying about these people is complete speculation based on the little bit that this show is showing me, and so take everything I say with a grain of salt. So this is really unfortunate because I was really pulling for this couple.
I'm gonna go get some real mother. Hell yeah, dog. I ain't got time for this.
I tried, but...
Nah, you ain't trying to do. You know what? Taylor. I'm gonna calm down when I'm there watching this.
So it's very common for people when they're traumatized and to have that triggered and to feel completely isolated and alone to go into a very aggressive stance to protect yourself. I'm guessing that's what's happening. I hope that the therapist gets involved and talks with him and tries to get to the bottom of why he had that reaction, because she is employed by this TV show. I wish she was involved this whole time. I don't understand. So I don't know. This show is upsetting me on a certain level. I feel bad for Brandon. I feel bad for Mindy. I kind of feel bad for Zach, honestly. Obviously, I feel bad for Taylor. I feel bad for Mika and Michael on a certain level. The other couples are doing fantastic. I don't have to feel bad for them. They seem to be, Katie and Derek and Jessica and Austin, they seem to be in bliss, which is wonderful, which means I guess the show is good on that level. They wouldn't have met each other otherwise, in all likelihood. Anyway, let's decompress. Let's stretch it out. Let's relax it out. Okay. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.